Grand Theft Auto: The Trilogy, a collection of 3 of the most popular and gloriously violent games of the PS2 era: GTA 3, GTA Vice City, and the one with the memes. Everybody knows these games, everybody's played these games, unless you haven't, in which case, what the fuck are you doing? And recently I decided I was gonna replay these bad boys, compare them to each other, and make a video talking about which one I think holds up the best. And fuck my Twitter if that wasn't way harder than I thought it would be. I mean, so many people love these games for many different reasons, and after replaying them I can see why. Because they're all exceptional games in their own way, but I personally felt like there was no one game that just objectively did everything better than the others. Like, they all had certain qualities that they did the best. And after playing through them again, I realized that I love all of these games in their own ways and appreciate them equally. But I still want to make this video, and ending it with, well, they're all the best in their own way would just be dumb, so fuck it, I'm just gonna break out my scalpel cause it's time to dissect! We all have our favourites and personal biases, so I figured the fairest way to do this is to use categories and award a point to the game that does the best in that category. For example, box art. This one has the best box art, 1 point to GTA 3. Easy peasy nipple tweezy. So then at the end, we can count up the points and see which one has the most and therefore is the best, because that's how criticism works. Apparently, the game with the highest number is the best. Just ask IGN, they definitely know what they're doing. Although I do want to put a quick disclaimer here, I might be criticizing these games in this video, but please remember, I love all of these games more than I love breathing. This is all just my opinion, and you shouldn't take anything I say too seriously, but whatever, I'm bored now, let's talk about video games!
Story.
Oh good, starting off with a nice, easy, very subjective one so everyone can disagree with me and tell me how stupid and gay I am in the comments. Wonderful. Now, stories in GTA games have always been interesting to me because they usually try to combine quite serious topics and themes with wacky, over-the-top fuck-a-doodle-doo characters and stereotypes. The tone is simultaneously dark and silly, and I think they pull that off very well. But which game pulls it off the best? Well, personally, I think it's San Andreas. Because I would say a GTA story is only as good as its characters, and in Vice City most of the characters you came across were balmy, batty, bonkers, clinically insane. And whilst that's definitely entertaining, there's not really much to relate to, unless we're talking about Tommy Vercetti, who's the fucking best and I want to kiss him right on his polygonal mouth. GTA 3 also had some great characters, but I personally feel that a silent protagonist doesn't really work as well as a voiced one, at least not for a series like this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Claude is a fucking badass, but only because that's what I'm projecting onto him. I mean, for all I know, he could be constantly thinking about sand. But San Andreas has fucking great characters. Most of them manage to be funny and interesting, but not so over the top that you can never really take them seriously. And the main crew you start out with are all awesome. CJ, Sweet, Ryder, and of course, Funny Fat Man. They all have such amazing chemistry together, and I think they're a big reason why people are so nostalgic about specifically the first part of this game. And then of course the betrayal happens, but that's just another reason I love this story, because the first time I experienced that moment, it felt like I was getting sucker punched in my vulva, because I really cared about these characters, so seeing them stab CJ in the back after everything they'd done together was a pretty powerful moment that carried real emotional weight for me. And if a game can give me a moment like that, and also have characters like fucking OG Loke, then that is good shit. Fucking good writing, good game, good boy, let's move on.
Controls.
Okay, so this one's a bit more simple. We're talking about the gameplay. The cars going vroom, the guns going bang, the American news going, well, I don't like this. And honestly, this one's pretty simple for me, because as much as 3 and Vice City are both still very fun to play, they improved so much in San Andreas control-wise. Like, the shooting was way better, the lock-on and aiming was better, and they added a ton of new features that actually changed a lot, like the ability to climb over walls and a bitch ton of new minigames and optional content, but that ain't controls. We'll get to that later, don't get ahead of yourself, Carol. Not to mention, on the PS2, you could actually control your third-person camera, both on foot and in vehicles, which was so much better than going into a first-person camera every time you flicked the goddamn right stick. I mean, I know things were different in PC world, but that's not even a real world, it's a computer store, fuck out of here! To be fair, San Andreas was an absolutely massive game that did a lot to make itself seem more next-gen, which I guess now would be last-gen, and if that's not a depressing thought, then I don't know what is. So I think it's fair to say that it deserves this point. However, there is one part of the gameplay that I actually think Vice City does better, which is the driving. And let's be real, a lot of what you do in these games is drive. I mean, credit where it's due, San Andreas has a way bigger selection of vehicles and more wide open spaces to drive them in, but in Vice City, the vehicles generally felt nicer to drive. The turning was sharper, the cars felt faster, and it was all generally very smooth. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but all I know is driving in Vice City was always a treat, and I think it deserves some credit for that. So what I'm gonna do is give 1 point to San Andreas for the general controls and 1 point to Vice City for the driving. Oh, and as for GTA 3, no motorbikes, 2 out of 10. Next.
Style.
I was originally going to call this category graphics, but then again, comparing the frankly pretty dated graphics of these 3 games that are older than most Logan Paul fans seems pretty pointless. But what I do want to do is look at the game's styles, you know, compare the artistic designs, color palettes, use of lighting, basically just see which one is visually the nicest. And for my money, it's definitely Vice City. Yeah, the character models and animation may be better in San Andreas, and there are some places in that game that are absolutely gorgeous, but I would say that it's not as consistently appealing as Vice City. Some of the areas can look pretty bland, and also fog. Why this game was so obsessed with fog, I will never know. I mean, I get that they were trying to show off all their weather effects and super cool, futuristic, realistic features, but these days that stuff is just kinda quaint, and ironically, I think it sort of dates it more. GTA 3 City, whilst being very impressive in its own right because it was a fully explorable city in full 3D in 2001, which at the time was rarer than a fucking unicorn, is pretty bland by modern standards. It was overall a pretty dull city. There wasn't much colour to be found, there was a lot of grey, and at certain times everything would just turn really dark. Vice City, on the other hand, boom baby, colourful as can be. In the day you could enjoy the beautiful sun effects with the palm trees and the beaches and whatnot, and at night the city gets lit up, and just God bless neon, man, seriously. The art direction in that game was fucking brilliant, and it did a great job of highlighting the multicolored, synth-heavy insanity that made the 1980s so fun. Unless you were Russian. In which case it probably wasn't that fun.
Map.
So this one's pretty simple, it's just the game's map, you know, its world, its city, that thing that's in the background when you're stealing cars and burning prostitutes. I'm gonna exclude GTA 3 from this one because I literally just shat all over its city, and to be honest, I'm starting to feel pretty bad for criticizing it so much. Like, I really do love it, I just love the others more. So just choosing from Vice City and San Andreas, it's really tough, because like I said, I love Vice City, and not just because of its art direction, I also think it's a very well-designed place. Every single area in that city feels simultaneously unique and connected to the rest of the city. Nowhere seems out of place or uninteresting, and it's also fucking iconic that every time I revisit it, I feel like I'm transported to a time period I wasn't even alive in, and all I want to do is crank up the Bowie and snort cocaine until my nose falls off. But at the same time, San Andreas is just incredible. I mean, they managed to make a game world of that size with that many unique districts and that few loading screens on the bloody PS2, the same console that had fucking Crazy Frog Racer. Great game, by the way, absolutely 10 out of 10 experience, definitely can see why that got a sequel. And even though I would say San Andreas' game world isn't as consistently well designed as Vice City, I just cannot ignore how much work it must have been to make a world of that size with so much attention to detail. Like, I don't even want to think about it. I guess at the end of the day, it's kind of like quality versus quantity, but nah, as much as I adore the city of Vice, I think San Andreas should get this one. If only to give some credit to the absolute madmen who attempted to make a game world that massive in the same year as fucking Catwoman. Another great game, by the way, simply a masterpiece in every way, actually kill me.
Soundtrack.
Now this is where the whole point system gets a bit, tricky, because there's the question of exactly what these points are worth. For example, if I was to give a point to a game because it had the best protagonist, and another point to another game because it had the best loading screens or whatever, should those 2 points be treated as equal? The answer is obviously not, but that's how I'm doing it regardless, so let's talk about soundtracks, a category that probably shouldn't be worth a full point, but it is anyway, cause fuck logic. Soundtracks have always been a big part of GTA. I mean, what would all those car chases and races be without a badass track to accompany them? This one is probably the most subjective category yet, because everyone has different musical tastes, and at the end of the day, we're all gonna have different jams. And I do actually think all 3 of these games have great soundtracks, but when it comes to the best, for me, there's no competition.
Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl.
It's gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. Ah, shit, there's nothing at a
2 minutes to midnight.
The hand! I'm only singing over these to avoid copyright issues. I know I suck. God damn it, Vice City, you made me fall in love with 80s music and exposed me to some really good classic tunes when I was at a young and impressionable age, thereby shaping my taste in music for the future. I hope you're happy. Cause I am. Like, I actually am, that's not a joke. I fully acknowledge my bias here, and if you prefer the tracks from either of the other games, that's perfectly fine. I just had to show love to Vice City. It's got some of the best songs ever made, and I personally think it has the best soundtrack out of the 3. Although San Andreas does have— oh shit, it's Freebird! Oh shit, it's just like that scene in Kingsman Secret Service where he's killing all the people and Freebird is playing. Oh, it's just like that. I have to talk over the songs, because if I don't, YouTube can detect them and fuck me up the arse.
Ambition.
This is kind of a weird one, but I personally think it's something that's quite important for games, especially ones that were made back in the day when there was a lot of room to innovate. Ambition, or more accurately, how much a game tried to be new and different and change the formula. Basically, how ambitious were the developers when they set out to make the game. And I'm gonna be real with you guys, let's just call this category what it is, and that's an excuse to be nice to GTA 3, because I've been so mean to it this whole video, and if I keep going, I'm gonna burn in hell. But I do really think that GTA 3 was the most ambitious out of them all. I mean, Vice City and San Andreas did definitely improve on the formula, but it was GTA 3 that made the fucking formula. I mean, this game dared to have an open world in full 3D in a time when that had never been done. I mean, okay, there was Body Harvest, because apparently that's important to film guy. But for its time, GTA 3 was a technical masterpiece, and even though there are bits that have dated, just like in all these games, it's still a lot of fun to play today, and I have to give it at least 1 point, otherwise I just look like a dick. I mean, I am a dick, but I don't want to look like one. And now we move on to the last category, thank fucking god it's nearly over, and in my opinion, this one is both the most important and the one that's hardest to measure, but bless my cotton socks, I'm gonna try anyway.
Fun.
Yeah, I was lying before. This is definitely the most subjective category. Like, how the hell can you measure fun? It's a personal feeling that everyone experiences differently. There are people out there who find fucking Long Division fun. I mean, they've all been sectioned, obviously, but still. However, I really do think it's the most important thing when it comes to these games. In fact, I would say it's the whole fucking reason people play them. So even though you could pretty much give this one to any of them, and I probably wouldn't argue, in my opinion, it's San Andreas, mainly because it added so much new shit that seemed like they were just there to have fun with. Stuff like arcade games, billiards, gambling, dating, working out, dancing, car dancing, and of course we can't forget flying motherfucking planes, which was absolutely a game changer, and I think we all remember when GTA 4 didn't have them, well, there were riots everywhere, mass chaos all over the world, mothers and daughters being gunned down in the streets! To be honest, I don't really have that much to say about this one. Like I said, you can't really measure fun, but for what it's worth, all these games are entertaining as hell, but San Andreas has jetpacks, and really that should be worth like 12 points right there. So then, we've come to the end. I tell you what, it's been a long and annoying journey. Remember when I sang over those songs? That was pretty terrible. But you better prepare your mind and grab your private parts, cause it's finally time to tally up those points. So, our final score is this. GTA 3, 2 points for ambition and box art, if you want to count that. because you remember from the beginning when I was good, you know what, it doesn't matter. GTA Vice City, 3 points for driving, style, and soundtrack. And the winner of this pointless charade, GTA San Andreas, 4 points for story, controls, map, and fun. So a big congratulations to our winner, GTA San Andreas. Yeah, and I'd like to take a moment here to offer a special greeting to those people who just skipped ahead to this point so they could see which game I picked. Hello there, you're all lazy bastards, go watch the video. So yeah, San Andreas takes the cake. A predictable outcome perhaps, but that doesn't mean it's not well deserved. I know it's boring to just say the most modern one holds up the best, but I don't care. San Andreas is a goddamn masterpiece, and just like its adopted son GTA 5, it pushed its console to the absolute limit, and for that, I applaud it. Okay, I'm done. But hey, that's just one stupid man's opinion. Feel free to let me know which one is your favorite in the comments. Also, a big thanks to my buddy JB for lending me his voice for this video. I will not be giving it back. And a big thanks to you for watching. I've never really done a video of this size before, so let me know what you thought. If you didn't like it, I probably won't do something like it again, and if you did like it, I still won't do it again, because this was a fucking nightmare to make. I'm going to sleep forever now. Bye.